This bad boy right here is the Jansno X70. It's the upgraded version to the X50 that I reviewed last year. And I think for the second moped style bike that Jansno has made, they did an awesome job on the styling of this bike. It's super retro with this really cool paint job and these accent pieces right here on the side. Not to mention the dual battery, and one of the batteries actually looks like a little gas tank. This thing looks absolutely fun, and that's what this bike is about. You probably have seen most of the bikes on my channel are designed around getting exercise or going down mountain bike trails or gravel roads. This bike is just for fun around town, and if you've ever ridden a moped style bike, it's a type of bike that just puts a smile to your face. Anybody that I know that has ridden one of these just absolutely has a blast on them. And that's why I really like the Jansno X70. It's just a ton of fun. So let's quickly go over some of the things that you'll see on this bike that's similar to the X50 that I reviewed in the past. The first thing is the front end is almost identical. You're getting a similar fork, headlight, blinkers, handlebars, grips, brakes, and even almost all the controls up here are the exact same. Now, I don't recall the X50 having an ignition switch, but the X70 does, so you will need to have your key. I really like the idea of having the ignition switch, needing the key to actually turn this bike on. Now, that doesn't prevent somebody from just basically pedaling away from it, but it will prevent them from turning it on and getting away really quickly. Now, that's pretty much the front end. That's the exact same. The brakes that come on this are pretty much going to be the same as the X50. You're going to get mechanical disc brakes. These are going to be 160 mil rotors, both front and back. So not super beefy rotors on this particular bike, but good enough to stop a bike of this size and for the style of riding that you would probably be doing on this bike. And then looking up here at the drivetrain, you are going to get basically the exact same drivetrain. This is a Shimano 7-speed setup. And on this style of bike, you really don't need anything more than this entry-level Shimano setup, because really a moped style bike, you're really not doing a lot of shifting on anyways. But having the gears and everything to be able to shift through is really nice. And this Shimano setup is really reliable. So this is going to be good enough for this style of bike. Now to go over the things that are new on this bike. The frame design is totally new on this. If you look at this compared to the X50, this is definitely more of a motorcycle look. The bike sits significantly higher. I'm 5'11" and I find this bike to be pretty tall. It's really comfortable for me. But if you are probably 5'6", 5'5", or lower, it's gonna probably be a little bit of a leg lift and one foot on the ground while you get going. Where me being 5'11", I can actually get on this bike and have both feet on the ground. But as you can see, if I was any shorter, this bike would be pretty tall on me. And speaking of sitting on the bike, this seat is absolutely awesome. I love the color that they went with. It's nice and long, so if you have shorter legs, you can sit up further, or if you're a little bit taller, you can sit back here. And then behind the seat, they did give an option to be able to kind of maybe put some additional accessories. There's some mounting points back here. The paint is a little thin on this, but that's not surprising at the price point that this bike comes in at. And also the other thing that I noticed are the welds aren't the most pretty. The welds look to be good enough to hold it together for what you're going to be doing on this bike, but they could do a little bit better on the overall weld quality. There's so many weld spots on this that you can see. It would be really nice if that attention to detail was there. But we are talking a $1,000 bike here. We can't expect perfection with everything that they're giving us. The welds look to be good enough to hold together. I haven't had any concerns on any of the rides that I've been on so far. I just wish that they were a little bit smoother is all. Now, as for the overall suspension on this bike, the front suspension is pretty good. It's decent enough for road use and some light gravel road use. I really wouldn't take this bike on trails or anything that's going to be pretty rough. It's just not designed for that. This is definitely an on-the-road moped. The suspension is designed around just smoothing out general potholes and things like that that you'll find on the road. This does have a air rear suspension on it that's hidden back down in here, and there is no adjustment to it. You can't add air, you can't take air out, which is okay and expected at this price point, and it seems to smooth out the ride quite a bit. I weigh about 185 pounds, and it doesn't have a lot of sag. I would suspect that if you're around 240, 260, you're probably going to drop that suspension down just a little bit, but it should still be enough to hold you just fine. Now, there are two major upgrades on this bike that didn't come on the X50. That is the dual battery setup. These are 48-volt batteries. You've got one up here that looks like a gas tank and one down here that looks like a standard shark fin battery. Combined, those are 34 amp hours. So they're claiming that on the lower pedal assist one, you could get upwards of 100+ miles on this bike. And with that size of a battery, you probably get pretty close. But on pedal assist one, you're probably going to be looking at about 10 hours worth of riding. Most people are going to be riding this on pedal assist 5. And based off of my experience on something like this, I would say 60 miles would probably be pushing it. Expect probably about 50 miles to be pretty generous. Nonetheless, that's going to be more miles than what most people are going to ride in a single day on this bike. So having 34 amp hours should definitely get most people through their average day of riding this bike. The other major upgrade are these wheels. Check this out. They didn't go with standard spoke wheels. They went with aluminum wheels with the built-in 750 watt motor. And this motor is 48 volt to match the battery. And these wheels are super nice because you don't have to worry about truing them. If you hit a big pothole, you don't have to worry about breaking a spoke. These things are going to be really, really durable, and just having no maintenance on them is going to be a really nice added feature. It does add a little bit of weight, but that also adds to the comfort when riding down the road. Having a bike that weighs a little bit more whenever you get up to higher speeds does handle a little bit better, and these aluminum wheels are definitely going to give you that feeling. Now, they did equip it with these awesome Cho-Yang tires that have the tan sidewalls. I think the whole aesthetics of this bike just look absolutely amazing. So as for performance on this bike, it's not gonna blow your socks off. It's got a 750 watt motor. It's not super torquey though. I don't think the Newton meter rating on this motor is very high, but it is really fun on flat ground with some slight elevation. But as soon as you start to hit a hill, you're definitely gonna wanna start pedaling to be able to assist that motor to get you up a hill. Here's my experience taking this bike up the 19% hill that I test out all of my e-bikes on. We're gonna just keep going. We're gonna blitz through that. I usually stop right there, but I know that this bike is not specifically a hill climber. I'm gonna go ahead and just get the cadence sensor kicked in because this throttle is not gonna wanna help up this hill. We're gonna just pedal. We're looking at about 19 miles an hour right now, and this right here is about 12 to 15%. I've got it in the hardest gear, so we should be able to shift down, go to 6. Right at this driveway up here, this is gonna be 19% grade. So a hill that is not a joke by any means. It pushes every single e-bike that I have ever ridden and makes them work really hard. I'm all the way in the easiest gear. This is definitely not a hill climber. I'm at 7 miles an hour. Pretty sure there's a car behind me. Probably just going, what is this guy doing? 8 miles an hour. We're getting up this hill. We're getting up this hill. We can do it, baby. Come on. 8 miles an hour. All right. We did it. The Jansno did it. It wasn't pretty, but the Jansno made it up the hill, and now we can cruise. Now, as far as the max speed, let's take a look at a few clips that I did where I did a pedal assist max speed test and a throttle max speed test. All these tests were done on flat ground in the same area, so that'll give you an idea of how this bike will perform in the best possible scenario. Now, before we go out on this test ride, I do want to show you guys this. There is a little cable underneath the seat that's super easy to access. And once you access this and you disconnect it, it'll actually take it from a max speed of 15 miles an hour all the way up to that 28 mile an hour class 3 mode. All right, let's take this for a speed test. This is on pedal assist 5, which is the max. I've got the limiter off, so I've unplugged that cable. We're gonna see what the throttle can do. Right now, it looks like we're at about 23, 24 miles an hour. Still accelerating, 25. This is doing pretty good. 26. Is it gonna actually hit the 28? 27. We're cruising. Oh, just dropped down to 26, 27. Can we get to 28? 28, I just saw 28. There we go, 28. This thing is actually hitting the Class 3 mode. I didn't expect it to do that just because the acceleration's a little bit slow on this, but overall, I'm hitting about 28.5 on this flat road. Pretty impressive overall. The bike is really, really smooth feeling. Let's do this same test with the pedal assist and actually pedaling and see how quickly we wind up getting to 28 miles an hour. All right, this is on pedal assist 5. We're gonna go ahead and start pedaling. Takes a little bit to kick in, and I've got to say this bike is not a pedaler. It is not a pedal bike. It definitely feels a little bit weird pedaling this bike, and that's typical for any moped style bike. The nice thing is that this is a cadence sensor, not a torque sensor, so I don't have to apply any pressure. I just have to keep spinning the wheels. We're up to 26. This feels about like what the throttle was doing. So really no difference when it comes to that. We should be able to hit 28 miles an hour right up here. All you have to do is just kind of keep a slow cadence on this and it just goes. Whoa, we just hit 29. Okay, 29.5 or 29.4 to be exact. Pedaling will get you a little bit more speed, not much. I mean, it feels awkward. I would rather throttle this bike all day long, but it does get you a little bit of speed and you don't have to put any pressure on the pedals. So overall, for $1,100, there's not really much that I can complain about on this bike. I mean, there are a few things that I would love to see done a little bit better. One are the welds. I would just like to see those cleaned up just a little bit. But the other thing is I do wish that they would switch over to hydraulic brakes. They can leave the 160 mil rotors, but slapping on a cheap pair of hydraulic disc brakes would really make a difference in the overall stopping power. But other than that, with the turn signals, the horn, the blinkers, just the overall aesthetics and feel of this bike, I think for $1,100, if you're looking for a bike that is just plain fun to get you around town, check out the X70. All right, guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video, leave me a comment. What do you think of this over the X50 that Jansno offers? Or do you actually own either the X50 or the X70? Let me know what your experience is on this so we can let anybody who's watching this video know how these bikes are performing for you out in the wild. All right, guys, until next time, get out there and ride your bike. Let's go for a ride, Jansno.